But when you're actually there in real life and everyone's just at each other, it's like a zoo, which is how things, like Shane Jones' comments sometimes get missed and then don't get reported until the next day. It's because everyone's screaming at each other, And then there you go, the comments themselves make the news and they make us think about who these people are when they're not just talking about policies.
Talofa lava, I'm Madeleine Chapman, editor of the Spinoff. Welcome to Behind the Story, where I go behind the scenes of a big article on the Spinoff from the week. If you want a weekly rundown of some of the best reads from the Spinoff every Saturday, make sure you sign up to the weekend newsletter. Today I'm talking to newly minted political reporter Lyric Waiwiri-Smith. This week was the first week back for politicians in Parliament, which meant a big third week as a gallery reporter for Lyric. She spent 9 hours listening to oral submissions to the Select Committee on the Treaty Principles Bill and started her new column, Echo Chamber, which recaps the lively question times in the House for those too busy to watch Parliament TV. I wanted to check in with Lyric on how she's settling in and what her aspirations are for the next 6 months in the gallery. Here's Lyric Waiwiri-Smith on Behind the Story. Kia ora, Lyric. Thanks for being on the show.
Kia ora, Mad. Thanks for having me.
You would usually be in the studio talking to me, and now I'm looking at you on a computer screen. Where are you?
I'm in a lovely windowless room in the press gallery, in the halls of the press gallery in the Parliament building in Wellington, because now I am a political reporter.
Yes, you are doing a lovely 6-month stint in the gallery. This is your first time working in the gallery?
Yeah.
What was it about the gallery, which is quite a specific type of journalism job? What was it that made you want to literally move cities to take on that job?
Well, when I was studying journalism in uni, I definitely had one of those professors that was like, "You must end up in the press gallery. Everyone here should have ambitions to be in the press gallery. It is the most prestigious place you could possibly be."
Was he British or?
No, he was. I think he was Samoan.
Oh my God, Samoan with a British accent, yeah.
Yeah, he was posh. But I definitely was like, oh my God, so true. Like, where else are you amongst it all? And then I kind of got over that. And then I did a scholarship last year where I just went around the outlets in the press gallery, RNZ, TVNZ, Herald, stuff, and learnt from the political reporters there. And I was like, this is really interesting. And maybe my professor was right. And then I wanted to get back. So now here I am.
And what was... when you look at sort of political coverage that you had read and then you thought of yourself being part of that, was there anything that you were like, this is what I would focus on, or this is what I find the most interesting, or that's missing? I
mean, definitely being a young Māori woman.
Ding, ding, ding.
That, full stop. But also I feel like I kind of think about it as like the spin-off as well. Like what does the spin-off look like in the press gallery, and what can we offer that other people, don't? Like what is RNZ not doing that we can do? So I feel like that's something exciting for me. I'm really, really keen to see how we can carve out a voice here. And I feel like people know our gigs. Sometimes the reporters stop by the office and give us some pictures, and they're all kind of jokes, and we're like, ha, 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 ha. So hopefully we can show them that we're a bit serious too.
I wonder, you've been there for 3 weeks, so you've really just started, and even more so, only this week, all of the politicians came back and were back in the House, and there were select committee hearings. How has that been, kind of jumping into quite a hectic calendar very quickly?
Someone today told me it's all just like a baptism by fire. which that saying is horrifying.
Yeah.
But I was like, isn't that the best way to learn? You know, sometimes you got to get thrown in the deep end. And it was kind of nice starting 2 weeks before Parliament resumed sitting, because I could just sort of get to know the place and get to know how it ticks before everything was going on. I feel like if I didn't have those 2 weeks to just kind of explore and figure out what I'm doing, I would have definitely felt like it was a baptism by fire.
So you've done kind of like a recap of the first day of the Select Committee hearings for the Treaty Principles Bill, and then you've done 2 of our exciting new column called Echo Chamber, which is kind of rounding up, recapping, putting a bit of colour into question time in the House. And question time is something that happens pretty regularly in the House, but very few people actually watch it outside of like the media, basically, or people who work for the MPs who star in it. How was that sitting in and watching it and kind of trying to figure out how to paint that picture to people who have never been on the Parliament website or watched a live stream of the debating chamber?
It's something I feel like I'm still figuring out, because I'm still having to remind myself, oh wait, not everyone knows what you mean when you say the House and like the tiles and the processes. The last echo chamber, I kind of just talked about why they ask questions like the opposition will ask the Prime Minister, does he stand by all of his government's statements and actions? And that's something that happens pretty much every question time. And then the why for that. So I guess echo chamber kind of, there's opportunities for it to be something that's educational and like, this is why this happens and this is how this works, but also to kind of highlight just the kind of silly moments. I mean, it doesn't really focus so much on policy as much as the politics of what's going on in the relationships between across the benches. And when you're there, like when you're watching it on a live stream, the MPs are speaking into a mic and, you know, you can hear the bickering in the background, but it's kind of faint. But when you're actually there in real life and everyone's just at each other, it's like a zoo, which is how things, you know, like Shane Jones' comments sometimes get missed and then don't get reported until the next day. It's because everyone's screaming at each other, you know. And then there you go, the comments themselves make the news and they make us think about who these people are when they're not just talking about policies.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we try to do at the Spinoff, which is essentially be a bit more narrative and colourful in our writing. And I think, you know, there's a lot of political reporting by necessity is quite simply, here is exactly what this politician said. Here are the numbers. Here's what we found in an OIA. All of that. And that is like crucial reporting. And I think where, especially when you have diminishing number of journalists in the country, where you sometimes lose is the human aspect of these people and what are they like as people and how do they behave as people and what does that look like. And I think that is where I'm quite excited by Echo Chamber and some of the potentially more observational stuff that you'll be doing, to be able to give readers those like, you heard what the comment was, here's how this person looked when they said it, here's what the response was in the room. Did it like silence everyone? Did it seem like people maybe didn't care that much? And I think that's that extra layer that when you lose it, you don't really notice it, but it's so nice when you get a little bit of it back.
Yeah, the human level of it all. Like, I feel like there's so many big personalities. You can kind of maybe assume that the way they speak to media is maybe who they are in real life. But then, you know, many opportunities to kind of look at the MPs at a human level. Like, I'm quite excited to write about David Seymour becoming Deputy Prime Minister, because that will be a whole song and dance. And you've got really two big personalities, well, three, the Prime Minister, Winston and David. And it's like, what are they actually thinking, and what are they actually saying to each other, and what is the expression on Winston's face when he has to step down, you know?
I think there's going to be a lot for you to cover this year. There will be no shortage of political tension or just sort of funny or ridiculous moments. On a sort of genuine political event on the calendar, next week you will be up at Waitangi reporting from the grounds. Have you ever reported from there before?
I went one year when I was a little baby student journalist working for 95 BFM, actually volunteering more so than working, and have not been back since. And I really love being on the treaty grounds, because it's like if you haven't been there, you need to go, because it's such a vibe, and it's like the one place where you're in like a majority Māori space, and there's something really special about that, because that's not what our life is on the day-to-day for most of us. So it's a really cool experience, and no shortage of stories, because you've got, you know, the iwi leaders and the parliamentarians and the kingitanga and the normal, you know, everyday people who are just trying to buy a fresh new fit and like get some feeds and
get a half a watermelon.
Yeah.
We've got quite a crew going up to Waitangi, and so I'm excited for what we get out of that and what you're able to see and capture. Is there anything this year that you are particularly keeping an eye on, or you know, that you had thought about last year but went, I'm not kind of close enough to it, or I'm not in, you know, I'm up here in Auckland, it's probably not the right fit for me. But now that you're down there, is there something that you're kind of looking to chase?
I feel like the Treaty Principles Bill hearings are going to dominate my life for the next month. I'm quite interested in covering Budget Day, because it's not something I've ever really done. I haven't really covered Budget Day before, because it's my first time being a political reporter. So I feel like that will be fun and tricky, and I'm going to have to get my head around numbers and where money goes. I feel like that will be a fun challenge. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Lyric. If you want to read all of Lyric's reporting from the gallery, they can be found. Just Google Lyric Waiwiri-Smith.
There's only one.
Ideally, maybe the spin-off at the end, just to be safe. And you'll find her byline. Otherwise, you will be very shortly seeing her reporting from Waitangi and beyond. Kia ora, Lyric.
Thanks, Mad.
That was Lyric Waiwiri-Smith on Behind the Story. I'll be back next week with another spin-off writer and another spin-off yarn. Thanks for listening.